Hello, Urban Saints. In last week's story, we heard how God told Samuel to anoint David and that one day David would be king. In today's story, David is still a shepherd, but he does something pretty amazing. Let's read David, the giant killer. Goliath was big. He had to stoop to get through doorways. His head was always bumping up against the ceiling, and his friends thought twice before inviting him to dinner. Goliath had a big spear, 10 feet long at least, with a big iron point. And his big bronze armour weighed 100 pounds or more. Goliath had a big voice too, and one day he used it. He stamped out in front of his army of Philistines and shouted across the valley to the soldiers camped on the other side. "I am Goliath," he bellowed, "and I dare any of you to come and fight me. Win the fight and we will be your slaves. Lose and you must work for us." David was little. Just a boy, really, who looked after the sheep. When he wanted a break from that, he carried cheese to his brothers in the army. And that's what he was doing one day when he heard Goliath shout. David was a little angry. "Who does that giant think he is?" huffed David. "Doesn't he know that the Lord God himself watches over us? Why, with God's help, even I can beat that bully." So David took a little walk. He went to see the king. "I want to fight the giant," he announced. The king almost fell off his throne. "But you're so little," said the king, "and he is so big." "A lion is big," answered David, "and so is a bear. But when they came after my sheep, the Lord God helped me to face them and fight them off. He will do the same with this giant." "All right," the king agreed, "but at least let me lend you my armour." The armour was big, too big, and so heavy that David could hardly move. So he gave it back and picked up 5 little stones instead, and a sling, and his trusty shepherd's staff. Goliath gave a big laugh when he saw the little shepherd boy, and he took 2 big steps. David ran a little way. 2 more giant steps for Goliath. And David ran a little further. They were in the middle of the valley now, and everything was quiet. Goliath roared a big roar, sucked in a big breath of air, and raised his spear. David sneaked his little hand into his little pouch, pulled out his little stone, and slipped it into his sling. Then he spun it around his head and let it fly. And before the giant could say another word, the stone struck him on the head, and he fell with a big thud to the ground. David's side shouted a big hooray! Goliath's side whispered a little, uh-oh. And from then on, some pretty big things happened to the little shepherd boy. He was given a king's reward. He was promised the hand of the king's daughter in marriage. And one day he became king himself, the very best king God's people had ever